Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Hello, and thanks for joining us for another episode of the What a Disaster podcast, where we watch and review a disaster movie as close to weekly as we can possibly stand. I'm Gregory Allen, and as usual, I'm joined by Richard Sawasinski.
Hello, Greg.
And this time, it's Brian Latar No Face.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Hang on, I'm pausing for Liz to say hello. How long do I wait for Liz?
Should we give her a call? See how she's
Let's
doing?
call her and see how she's doing. No, Brian Laterno. He was a guest on. He did the Thor one, right? He did the Thor one with us.
No, Cabin in the Woods.
He did. Was it Crack in the World? Which one was it?
I was drunk for all those.
I mean, we're drunk for
Yeah.
all of them, really.
Yeah.
We were most sober for the worst one.
No, dude, definitely the Thor one, Cabin in the Woods, the
you
one
did
that
Thor.
mattered.
Yeah, Thor, Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
Thor was in that movie.
Thor Ragnarok in the Woods.
Yeah.
It was our top
It was
rated
the musical
episode.
Yeah, it's a musical.
Ragnarok in the Woods.
Chris Hemsworth, the musical.
It was on Nickelodeon.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
That's exactly how I remember it.
Yeah. So, B. Ryan, how have you been, buddy?
I've been good. Things have been going well. I'm super excited. In 2 months, I'm going to Disney World. So
What's in Disney World? Have you ever been there?
I've been there a couple times.
Twice?
Yeah, it's kind of a priority. I have to go at least once a year or I will melt.
Okay. I've been there a couple times.
Yeah.
I think
That sounds like a witch's curse more
I think
than a priority.
last weekend we went. Christine and I went. I think it was our fourth time in the last 2 years.
I usually don't live in the real world on a day-to-day basis, so it's nice when I'm actually not in it.
Yeah.
So it's a good fit for my lifestyle.
Yeah, I
He doesn't do drugs or drink. I couldn't even get him to taste our beer for the day, so that makes sense.
Well, from what you told me, I'm glad I didn't.
His drug is Disney, and yes, you're glad you didn't. So, Brian, now that we've let you out of the basement here, well, it's a crawl space. All right, it's a hole under the house. Now that we've let you out of your hole, how are you feeling? How's it feel to get your legs stretched out again?
I feel phenomenal. I felt phenomenal in there. I've been happy since I went in, while I was in it, and ever since I got out. So I'm in a good mood.
Yeah, you're pretty much always in a good mood. I'm surprised that the hole hasn't broken you yet, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
We will get there.
Chris and Patrick broke way quicker.
They're dead.
What happens when they break?
Usually we kill them.
Yeah,
Oh.
That's
the fun.
yeah.
What fun is a broken man?
So Brian, you yourself are planning a podcast, yeah?
Yeah, I am. I'm actually putting together a couple podcast ideas.
You're still in planning stages, though.
Yeah, still in planning stages. Obviously, I'll have one on Disney World because I'm obsessed with that.
Okay.
And then I'm going to put together a gaming podcast also, talking about some retro games and not so retro games, and not just reviewing, but kind of playing through them and just discussions around it. So
Okay.
you'll get the names and stuff.
So nerd shit.
Yeah,
Okay, fucking loser.
that's what happens when you don't have friends.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
It's good to see you again, Brian.
It's
Thanks for coming out,
always
man.
good to. I mean, I don't know if we mentioned it on the first podcast, but I've known Brian a really long time. No, I did. I mentioned that I've known him pretty much since middle school.
Yeah.
I have no memory of Greg until just today. So
this is the first time he's seen me. But the hole does that to people.
no, it's good to be back.
And the roofies.
I've enjoyed listening to the podcast so far.
Have you been
and-
listening?
Yeah,
oh,
I
that's
have.
good. I'm glad.
Yep,
You're one of
I-
the 6 people.
All right.
He listens to it like the first
Hey, if you're listening to this podcast, you're part of the base. This is the base of the
Right,
podcast.
you're on the ground floor.
ground floor.
That's right.
Yeah.
Welcome.
You're the people that we're going to thank when we are winning awards for podcast. Do they do award podcast shows?
They do. We'll apply
Okay.
for some.
Yeah, once we start winning those awards,
Our ground people.
Yeah.
They're going to be the people we
You'll
think
be the
of.
ones that
Yeah.
we thank by name if you give them to us. All right, so we do have a phone number. I'm going to throw it out here now too. Why not? It's 209-781-9113.
Tweet at us. Tell us what you think about the movie
Yeah,
we're going to watch
are
today.
we Podwad, Podwad on the Twitter?
Yeah, you just look up What Disaster Podcast or in a search, you'll find
And
it.
we are WAD Podcast on Instagram. And of course, you can find us on What a Disaster on the Facebook.
And tweet us and tell us what your favorite dinosaur is, because today we're watching Jurassic Park.
Oh, we'll do a poll.
Yeah.
We'll do a poll. We're going to release a poll before this episode airs. If you vote, then we won't talk about you on this episode because it's already recorded.
Yeah,
You're
but,
going to love it.
yeah.
You might not hear your name. Well, you definitely won't hear your name.
I brought some dinosaur trivia with me today.
You didn't bring dinosaur.
I swear
trivia.
to God, I did. It's
Trivia
right
me
here.
up. Let's get some dino trivia.
One of them happens to relate to the Stegosaurus.
Oh, I love the Stegosaurus. That's my favorite dinosaur. I don't know if you knew that.
What is it that we think, or what is it that the scientists, the pillars of truth, think that the plates on its back were used for? What were their main purpose?
Knocking food off of trees?
Close.
Sex.
Close.
Sex with trees.
Close.
Sex with food from trees.
Gosh, that was really good. You nailed it. Nope, to disperse heat. Nice try.
Oh, so they're like heat sinks on their butt
Exactly.
and their spine.
Yep.
and their head.
And
their tail.
regulating temperature.
Regulating temperature. Why would that regulate their temperature?
I have no idea, dude. It's
Some shit on their
It's a
back.
bunch of guesses that they put down in a book.
Scientists suck. Ooh, here's the most boring answer I could give.
So the right answer is not the pterodactyl or the stegosaurus. It's definitely a T-Rex.
T-Rex is the best dinosaur. Is that what you're saying?
100% because I like to go with the most generic.
Because you don't want to play tennis with your
popular
dinosaur
thing.
friend.
The favorite ice cream is vanilla.
Hey T-Rex, you want to go have a catch?
Well,
That's a sad groan, by the way.
he's cool enough to be the star of a movie that was the highest grossing movie from 1993 to 1997.
Is
I
that
believe.
We're Back dinosaurs
Yeah.
story?
And he's the best.
All right, so now that we're so fucking far past this short limit time that we gave for guest
It's
talks,
16 minutes. So we're not
16 minutes. Yeah, that's like 7.
Yeah, I'll pull
That's
5.
just like 7.
No, it's 15 minutes for the first
Oh,
part. I thought.
shut up.
Just coming out of
Anyway,
it like you guys planned. It'll
Shut
shorten it
up too, Brian. Both of you shut up.
I'm just-
This
I'm
is
just
my
shut up.
podcast.
I'm going to shut up.
This is my house. These are my microphones. You shut up. Just shut up.
It hurts.
Just
my
shut
heart.
up.
It hurts it.
Just shut up.
I don't understand what he's trying to tell us.
It's like he's speaking, but what could he possibly be
I
saying?
just hear gargling.
So why the fuck Jurassic Park though?
Come over and be on my podcast and just shut up, everybody.
Shut up, Richard.
Shut up.
We have a guest. He's talking. Shut up.
Try to shut up so the guests can
Just
talk.
shut up.
Would you let me
Let-
shut up
will
so
you
the
let-
guests can talk?
Brian, tell him to shut up.
I can't.
Brian,
I want to hear him.
Will you let me shut up?
You can.
Please,
You can
shut
talk
up,
all
Richard.
that you want.
Please.
You shut up too, Brian. I don't want to know. He picked this movie because it's fucking cool.
You know the reason I picked this movie is
Because it's fucking cool. Shut up.
I did a search to try to find the worst disaster movies ever, and it's clear you guys have already covered a couple of those.
Oh,
Dear God.
boy.
But I looked up a search, and I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to go with something that is me. It is defined as me. This movie came out in, is it 93? Did I say that right earlier?
I think it's
Yeah.
93.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when it came out, I was going on 11 years old, and I was the perfect age. I loved dinosaurs. I loved absence of realism, as you guys already have learned from me today about Disney World and my life and my existence. And it was
He
just
doesn't have a wife or kid. He just imagines them in a hole.
I'll never forget this. It was an experience for
weird.
me in the it was
Super
I will
weird.
call it a theater experience because it was absolutely amazing. I remember going to the theater to see this. My dad took me and the family, and to hear what I heard and see what I seen as a little kid, it's like I'm still there. When I watch this movie, it takes me back to that day. So there's a lot of nostalgia in this movie for me and a lot of love in this movie for me, which will always overcome any sort of real critique or any sort of reasonable thought. It's just nostalgia and love. And this movie is so me, and it's so my family, and it takes me back to a really happy place. So even though it's an obvious choice and a very popular movie, I just had to go with it.
Ooh, look at Brian. He's got a dad and happiness.
Yeah, what is
yeah,
that?
way to come in here and be all braggy. Captain
Exactly.
Braggy Pants.
I mean, raise your hand if your family was great.
Yeah. Oh, at least you won it.
Oh, there's one hand.
Yeah, one hand.
Out of,
Two hands.
Oh, two hands. Two hands
I
out
got
of
2
6.
hands to raise. Yeah. No, it's just such an experience. And ever since then, I've always chased at the theater a movie like Jurassic Park. And it's very rare that I can ever get, you're chasing that perfect video game or that perfect
Classic addict.
So
you know,
everything has to
experience
live
in
up.
Disney World for me.
Everything has to live up to Jurassic Park for you.
Yeah, and
Have you seen Infinity War?
I have.
It's not as good as Jurassic Park.
Well, now we're comparing experiences.
I mean,
It
it's
was
apples and
really good.
oranges.
It was really good, but that ties in nostalgia. That's cheating because it ties in the nostalgia of Thanos and me when I was a kid. So that one,
Were you Thanos as a kid?
I absolutely was.
Oh, wow.
I was
I
responsible
didn't know
for.
that.
This movie, Greg, there's a couple cool things about this movie. First off, it was directed by Steven Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg. I know that guy. Well, I know of him. I've seen his movies.
James Cameron was actually on the short list. He wanted to direct this movie, but he admitted that the one Spielberg made was probably better, but his would have been more violent.
Oh yeah, I'm glad Steven Spielberg did it then.
Yeah, Michael Crichton wrote it. It was actually Michael Crichton just prints money, basically. So when he writes a book, people just make it in
He's
movies.
dead. Michael Crichton's dead. Yeah, man.
No,
he made
is
a-
he?
Yeah, Michael Crichton died like 15 years ago, maybe.
He died on November 4th, 2008.
So there you go.
Oh,
Yeah,
Michael Crichton's
he's
been
been
dead for
dead a
like a
long time,
decade.
which is what I just said.
I thought she was going to say while listening to us on this podcast.
He died the same year the first Iron Man movie came out.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
sad for
true.
him.
That is sad.
He
He's
missed out on
the whole entire series.
MCU.
Yeah,
Man,
yeah. Poor Michael Crichton.
I mean, I don't know if he would have cared about him, but
Steven Spielberg's my favorite director of all time, which actually goes
Steven
along.
Spielberg. I mean,
Yeah.
he kind of fits with the Disney mold, so I get it.
Yeah, well, and he goes with the whole I love things that happen to be popular, like the T-Rex. Like, of course, Steven Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg is the
T-Rex.
T-Rex of movies.
God, you're so generic.
He's so intimidating. He's got big teeth, and his arms are so tiny.
You're so pedestrian, Brian. Like everything's normal about
To
you.
be fair, though, Steven Spielberg released Schindler's List the same year as Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
So-
and thanks for ruining any jokes that I could possibly have made about Steven Spielberg by bringing up Schindler's List. That pretty much means no more jokes, guys.
One of the best movies of
The
all
rest of this
time.
episode is going to be somber and dark.
Well done. Well, and he actually was filming Schindler's List towards the end of the production of Jurassic Park. In Jurassic Park, he personally storyboarded every single scene, and not only that, he actually did every scene with little models, and he did like a pre-recording so they could
Claymation and
compare it as a
stuff.
model.
Yeah. I saw that, and he actually even cut the movie without CG
Yeah,
because he was worried that the CG was going to look bad, and he didn't want to release a movie with bad CG.
yeah, and that is amazing. Is that just a regular plug?
That's a MacBook power adapter.
It's just a regular one?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, you just take out the plug that goes to the wall, and it turns into a bottle opener.
What?
Yeah. I mean, you just watched me open 2
That's like a
beers.
life hack thing.
Yeah, Greg.
All right, so Brian's talking about a life hack where if you take the part that plugs into the
yeah.
wall off of a MacBook power adapter, you can use it to open bottles of beer.
This is an educational podcast in every way.
Every way.
But you're right about they did stop motion stuff and he was nervous about how it was going to turn out because this was like the first time this much CG has been done. I mean, there was Terminator 2, there was a couple other small examples, but to this scale, it was fun to learn about how this movie sort of ruined stop motion in the industry and turned them into dinosaurs. And one of the stop motion guys, I read something where he joked and he said, yeah, we were the ones that turned into dinosaurs during Jurassic Park, but some of their skills were still used for animation and how the CG was going to turn out.
yeah, they said like now we're extinct, and they kind of stole that line for Jurassic Park when Dr. Grant was talking about how Jurassic Park makes him
Archaeologists extinct.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'll say this about stop motion animators. Their skill set is incredibly relevant in 3D modeling and technology because I mean people still need to have an understanding of how things move, and that's something that
Agreed.
a stop motion animator has a lifetime of practice doing. They just have to try and learn the new media.
For this movie, they invented a device. It was like a small puppet shaped like the dinosaurs, and they would move it, and the computer would record the 3D sort of animation and where this thing was going.
Wow.
And they would use that literally for some of the CG animation and how to model it after. So, learning about the discovery of how they put CG into this movie, it was almost like accidental. Like we needed just a little CG, and then one of the main special effects guys came to Spielberg and he's like, "Hey, Steven, I think we can do a full-on 3D animated dinosaurs. Let me show you some things." And they just kind of not accidentally flowed into it, but just naturally flowed into it as they discovered they could do it.
Yeah, and it helps too back in these older films with early CG because there's a lot of film grain, and there's a lot of rain too, and the rain's used to kind of refract the stuff. There's a lot of tricks they use to make these look good, and that's why the CG. One of the reasons why the CG looks so good.
It 1,000,000% still holds up for the most part.
Yeah.
The CG in that movie is so much better than the CG in. Just as an example, Jurassic Park 2,
100%.
Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah,
Both the CG was so underwhelming and poorly done. You can tell it was done by people who were just like, this is part of our job now. I'm just going to bang it out and ship it off.
Yeah, these guys were in Jurassic Park. They were trailblazers.
And if you're an animator from Jurassic Park 2 or 3 and you're insulted by what I just said, look back at your body of fucking work, you piece of shit.
well, Jurassic
Do
Park,
better.
It was a milestone.
Better.
It was a milestone movie for me in that when my parents were younger and Star Wars came out, it was like movies are going to be different from this point on. And when Jurassic Park came out, I knew movies are going to be different from this point on. Like sitting in the theater, I was like, something's changed. They've upped the game.
You
Even
were
the
11.
sound.
Fuck you.
I know, right? At the time, I didn't know that
Like, the game has changed.
but I knew like it was going to be different. And every movie for a while was
prodigy dinosaurs. Woo!
You should have been in the
know what
movie.
I mean.
You could have been little Timmy.
But I didn't know. But like the sound was so much better in the theater. I didn't know because Spielberg made the theaters like get DTS into this movie and up their sound game.
Yeah. Oh man, every time a movie comes out where basically theaters are forced to upgrade their sound, I am so happy.
Yeah.
I
Sound
downloaded-
is like my number one priority for movies and the movie going experience. You can have the biggest damn screen you want, but if it sounds like garbage, just it takes me right on out of there. So we got it starring the Sam Neill, who has been in Event Horizon. He didn't have eyes at the end of that movie.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
don't watch that
spoiler
movie.
alert for the fucking 30-year-old movie, guys.
Starts off as Gravity, ends as Hellraiser.
Laura Dern was in this one. She's the worst captain in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Then we've got Jeff
Oh, that's
Goldblum,
right.
who was the Fly. That's it. Those are the people.
Who'd you guys like most in this movie?
The T-Rex.
I mean, the people.
I can't remember the name of the actor that played the guy that runs the park, but he was my favorite. Is that Richard
Hammond,
Attenborough?
yeah.
Yeah, it was the next
Damn it.
one down.
Harrison
No.
Ford turned down Sam Neill's.
Well, that was dumb.
He said he doesn't regret
Right.
it. Could you imagine? Like,
I mean, I do. I don't care what Indiana Jones thinks.
Harrison
I
Ford.
care what I think. That
as
would have
Dr.
been
Grant
great.
Would have been great. Yeah.
Look, Indiana Jones, if you're a listener of our
need to talk.
podcast, this is real talk here. Fuck you.
Get a little closer.
All right, Harrison Ford. You just want to sit there and be like, "Oh, I don't regret not making a great movie even better."
He's just gonna sit there
You
and mumble.
sit there on your pile of money. I don't care where it is, but I want you to think about how sad you've made me personally. I can't even live my life now because this is going to haunt me until my end of days. Till the day my eyes no longer open and my heart no longer beats, I'm going to rage inside about you. You go straight to hell, Harrison Ford. You go straight to hell.
He's definitely a listener.
Oh, without a doubt. That's why I got very
Very
angry with him. So the budget, it cost money and it made money.
Oh.
It made way more money than it cost, which is usually a good sign for a movie.
So it was 63 million.
It's been released in theaters like twice now.
Yeah. Was 63 million a lot in 93 for movies?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty big.
I mean,
that's
I know it was a
substantial
big budget, but I'm wondering-
Waterworld was the most expensive movie when it was released, and that was like $150 million. So $63 million still seems like a lot.
Yeah. And when it made opening weekend, it was number one grossing film of all time until Cameron showed up with Titanic and blew it out of the water.
What was Titanic about? Was that a movie? Was
Opening
that the one
weekend.
with the sharks?
Opening weekend, it made 50 million. I think that's pretty good.
That seems pretty good.
Yeah.
But then movies like Titanic showed that you can make a lot more than that opening weekend.
$1 billion. First movie to gross that, right?
That was worldwide cumulative.
Wow.
That's fine. We're gonna break. What's gonna happen is we're gonna go feed a sheep to our a goat to our T-Rex, and when we come back, hopefully our T-Rex will have eaten the goat and will not want to eat us.
And he slashes at you with this 6-inch retractable claw, like a razor, on the middle toe. He doesn't bother to bite your jugular like a lion, say. No. He slashes at you here, or here. Or maybe across the belly, spilling your intestines. The point is, you are alive when they start to eat you. So, try to show a little respect.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Richard. I'm here for the audition.
Okay, it's
of-
not an audition. I just asked you
I
to
did-
tell us what
this
scene
was an
your
audition.
favorite fucking
It's
dinosaur
not an
noise
audition.
was
What the hell
from.
the microphones
Then make
doing
the
here?
Velociraptor
Yeah, I'm
noise.
gonna just be
can
a
we
Velociraptor.
please
I'll
just do that?
do it
All
for
right.
free.
You know what? Let's
Like,
see.
it's not a job.
Let me
It's
show
gonna-
you what a professional
All
does.
right.
Brian.
Brian Laterno, 11-year-old actor, also here for the audition.
Oh, Jesus Christ. avoid that. Anyway, my favorite dinosaur or my favorite velociraptor sound is when they they're chasing the kids and the velociraptor like calls to their other ones and it just sounds like it's coughing up a hairball and he goes
Yes, you stole mine.
Absolutely amazing. Well, if you hadn't fucked around with this audition bit that you're doing over there with Richard.
That's definitely my favorite.
So Spielberg did all the dinosaur sounds with actual animal noises, and he combined some animal noises.
So wait, he
Yeah.
got together with animals and they all sang?
Yeah, he hung out with them. Yeah.
All right, that's cool.
Yeah, he made friends with them.
Yeah, the T-Rex was like a pig and something else.
A penguin, honestly?
Was there a penguin?
Yeah,
on the
there's a
T-Rex?
penguin in there, yeah. They make weird noises.
The raptors are dolphins and walruses. Walruses for the low tones and different dolphin sounds modified. That's why it can do the bark and the call and sound like a smart dolphin.
Oh, yeah. That's
All
awesome.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of neat. I'm sure there's a lot of thought that went into why they use the things, but nobody's going to appreciate that.
Well,
Except for us.
They got an
I
Oscar.
mean, I don't really even appreciate it. I'm just glad they did it because the sound in that movie was terrific.
I agree, and I will now
Talk about what
emulate.
holds up.
I'm going to emulate the sound exactly as the movie does.
Okay, here we go.
There you go.
Did they say bonk?
I don't know.
It sounded like a dino bonk.
That's how you get other raptors. So
Oh,
watch
well,
out, because some raptors are going
They're
to
on
bust
their
through your
way.
ceiling.
Brian and I have both done Velociraptor calls, and one of us definitely got it right.
Somebody tweet us, let us know which one of them got it right.
If you are attacked by dinosaurs because you're listening to this without headphones, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. We'll put a disclaimer at the beginning of this episode.
Unless you're Harrison Ford.
Unless you're Harrison Ford, in which case, fuck you, man.
Honestly, if you build a park.
I love Sam. Now, hang on. I don't want Sam Neill to feel disrespected here, and I know he definitely will listen to this episode.
Yeah. Because let's be honest.
He was terrific in this movie, and I loved him in. Was he in other things? I'm just kidding. I loved him in
Cracking the World.
Event Horizon.
He was in The Piano.
He was in The Piano. Is that a movie?
The penis?
The Piano is a movie.
Come on, Richard.
It's a movie I've never seen. I just know
Come
the music.
on.
Michael Nyman wrote it. It's amazing.
Oh, he wrote the music? So I do want to talk a little bit about something kind of serious that's not at all related to Jurassic Park.
Great.
The middle of April, an FDA recall on Bush's baked beans was ended. I'm really concerned about the beans you guys have in your houses.
I saw your post earlier on social media.
Did you check your beans?
And I immediately texted my wife and said, check the Bush's baked
Check
beans.
the beans.
And she said, I'd be happy to.
So right at the beginning, we see the amber, right? With
No,
the
rustling
thing.
trees. Rustling trees.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the opening's the first encounter with the Velociraptor.
I love
in
the way this
dark.
movie opens.
Yep.
I
Oh yeah,
love the way this movie
I forgot.
opens.
I don't know how I forgot that. That
The
scene
set,
was
the cage,
like,
everything. I love the way this movie opens.
We don't know what's going on. We just know there's a cage and there's an animal. And we know it's a movie about dinosaurs, obviously, because
Yeah, I've seen it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Any movie that opens up with a wild rabid animal and Crocodile Dundee at the beginning and dinosaurs are implied to be in it by the title, you know it's going to be a good ride. Yeah, and in that scene, I watched a clip on YouTube today of that scene being filmed, and it showed Steven Spielberg directing the actors and everything and talking. And it's funny because as the raptor sort of gets control of the situation and grabs somebody and begins to pull them into the cage, Spielberg's yelling at the actors like, okay, he's pulling him in further. And then at that moment, right when he kills the guy, he says, okay, scene cut. And then it's funny because Spielberg claps and he just screams, well done, great cut. It goes from like death and mayhem to jovial excitement, awesome scene. It was just funny to listen to everyone celebrate that this guy
It's like,
died on
good
set.
job, dying guy, yeah.
It was just funny to see
I thought
the
the
shift.
So do we count first death if it happens in the opening scene, Greg?
Yeah, that's absolutely first death. I mean, that's within
first
minutes of the
death.
movie starting. First death, boom.
Yeah, first death.
I mean, that poor handler just.
Yeah, this is the whole beginning of the plot is that now all these investors are worried that this place isn't going to be safe, so you better bring in some professionals to prove that it's going to be safe enough to be profitable,
Right.
you know?
He goes, the investors aren't convinced? I'm not convinced.
It made
And I
no
was like,
sense.
It's supposed to be the other way around. The investors aren't here. What do you... This movie hates lawyers.
Everybody digs on lawyers, though. That's kind of common practice.
This movie's
because
really mean to lawyers.
A
though.
lawyer's job is to represent pieces of shit at some point or another. And they have to do it for money. Part of the justice system.
You're right about that observation, though, Rich, because
They are definitely dicks to lawyers.
Spielberg actually says after the movie was filmed, he's like, I know it seems like I have an issue with lawyers, but I promise you I do not. Because you're right. This movie hates on them.
Jesus.
This is actually a pretty good transition into the lawyer because that is pretty much where we move into in the next scene.
The next scene is the lawyer meeting up with he was supposed to be meeting with somebody there, right?
Yeah,
He was supposed to be meeting with Hammond at the mine.
Yeah, and
But instead he met with one of the guys digging for Hammond.
Right, exactly. Hammond was supposed to meet him there, and he met like his paleontologist worker guy.
Then they had found another mosquito in amber or something.
Right. Yeah.
We get to a very cool scene where they're digging up a velociraptor skeleton.
Yes.
And we're introduced to Dr. Sadler and Dr. Grant.
Ellie and Dr. Grant. That's how they go in the movie, right? They always call her Ellie, and they always call him Dr. Grant for the most part in the movie.
You're right.
She is definitely a more accessible person than Dr. Alan Grant. Nobody calls him Alan except for Ellie.
Yeah.
Malcolm, the Jeff Goldblum, almost always calls her Dr. Sadler in like an endearing way, though.
Yeah,
so that is the exception.
He's a creep, though. He's like
Dr. Sadler.
Creepy. We'll get to him.
he's got a Boner Jams VHS.
But they're there, and I can't remember what were they digging up raptors? Is that what you said?
Yeah, they were using actually this computer technology to get visualization of the raptor bones under the ground, and they were. But the first thing you see, they're brushing off some of the bones, and when they're looking at the computer stuff, the whole time Dr. Grant's just saying, "I hate computers." He's a Luddite, technophobe.
He's anti everything. He's as antiquated as the things he's digging up.
But Dr. Grant's consistent. He is reckless with the lives of children through this entire movie, and he demonstrates it with this kid. He's like,
he wants to treat kids like they are adults.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is his modus operandus.
Yeah, they tip off the idea that he's bad with kids right off the bat.
Yeah, so we're now about to finally meet Hammond. A helicopter.
We gotta have
Of course, there's a
sounds.
helicopter in a disaster movie.
Make a helicopter sound, Greg.
Didn't take long.
All right, we got our first helicopter. Hammond shows
Boom.
up.
Helicopter, Hammond. They're like, cover up the dig. Where dinosaur bones? But they don't know there are
He
real
doesn't care about
dinosaurs
dinosaurs.
now.
But I love him because he acts like a billionaire to me. If I was a billionaire, I would totally do that.
Oh, God, I would be just absolutely awful.
I'd walk into somebody's house and
People
get
would
into their
love and
fridge.
hate me because if I were a billionaire, I would be a total dick. But I'd be like, here's a bunch of money to cover all the shit that I just fucked up.
Yeah, because I have guilt, right? So I'd be a guilt.
Yeah.
I'd be a dick. I feel guilty. Now resolve my
we
guilt
we
with
grew
hard
up
cash.
poor.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you just, all of a sudden you've got all this money and you fuck somebody up and you're just like, I know how this is affecting you. I can empathize with this. Here's a bunch of money to cover it. But that was hilarious, right?
Sorry about your
Right?
couch. Whipped cream comes out of most things, but not that much whipped cream. So
We're going to get you a new couch and it's
you a
going to
new
be
couch.
great, I hope. You're going to pick it and you're going to have some leftover money.
When I was a kid with this, the reason this is why I love Dr. Hammond, or what is he? He's not even a doctor, billionaire Hammond, right?
Mr. Billionaire, Mr. Hammond, man.
The reason I love him is when I was a kid, I saw a guy who looked like him and no one was around. And I wished I could have made some sort of reference like, welcome to Jurassic Park. Or I could have said something like, I spared no expense. Years later, my wife and I see a guy dressed in all white, same age, white beard, same look. And I had this chance to redeem myself. And I said to her, we spared no expense. And she caught it. And honestly, it's been the best thing that's happened to me since then.
You know what would have happened to me?
that's it. You're like, might be the highlight of my life. If I would have got hit by that bus.
I've arrived.
I don't want to undermine your story, Brian. I do appreciate it. But what would have happened to me if I had been waiting my entire life to make that reference is I would have been like, 7 herbs and spices.
Oh, yeah.
It would have been a
KFC
KFC reference.
Oh my God.
That would have been it.
I called him Colonel KFC. In one of my
Colonel
last bullet
KFC.
points.
I never noticed this. I never knew. You guys are totally right. He's
He
the
is the
colonel.
colonel.
He's the colonel rethemed for dinosaurs.
Oh my God. No. Fuck. He's just trying to make bigger chicken.
He's just trying to make bigger chickens for his buckets.
His buckets are going to be huge.
I think that they walk into their home, and then Hammond's in their fridge, and he opens up.
You're right. Hammond's in his fridge. But can we talk about this scene for a second?
Yeah.
Hammond's bent over in white yoga pants, basically, just like
It does just pretty much look like yoga
ass
pants.
everywhere. His ass is just
It's just booty.
it is the sexiest shot of a 60-something-year-old
widest
man
booty-
I have ever seen.
Third widest booty you'll ever see in a trailer.
Yeah.
Bent over in front of a fridge.
It is the first use of teleportation that I'm aware of in this movie. I know one other spot where it's funny because the helicopter lands, it hits
Maybe
the
there were
ground.
2 helicopters. Quit being a bitch.
Maybe. And the pilot points to the trailer and they walk in and he's instantly there. Somehow he beat them into the trailer.
Let's assume that they were distracted by trying to cover up the dig site and he ran in while they were
and that's
throwing the
possible.
tarps
Or he
on
got dropped
stuff.
off further away. I think there's good explanations for a lot of
He rolled
things.
himself down from a
I
rope.
like the idea that he climbed down a rope.
Like
Now
a
that I
SWAT
think about it,
team.
there's 3 examples of teleportation, but let's move on.
He just drops right the fuck in through a sunroof on that thing.
You know, like in Mission Impossible or something, like a SWAT guy hits a rope. He's like coming down back first.
His drop
He
of
lowers himself
sweat hits
down.
the ground, but since there's no sensors, it doesn't matter.
And bro's carrying a bucket of chicken. That's
The
what's
biggest
happening.
bucket of chicken.
Biggest bucket of chicken.
It's 40 feet high.
Colonel KFC
It's
Hammond.
just full of brachiosaur legs.
So Hammond's saying basically this scene we can talk about this scene forever. This scene makes me laugh every time I see it. But Hammond just goes,
Hey, we were saving that.
yeah, because Hammond opens up some champagne because he's celebrating with these dinosaur
Hey,
people.
we were saving that.
Hey, we were saving that.
I just wanted to interrupt you twice.
So Hammond's like, you know what? I will fund your digging for 3 years. Just come to my park and check it out. But he doesn't tell him any other details. He's super secretive about it.
Yes.
But they're really excited already about having their stuff funded for 3 years. And Greg and I both have worked with scientists and researchers, and yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, that's
they spend all
that's
their
a lot
time
of
trying to
damn
beg
money.
him for grants. Hammond basically made their lives. He goes 3 years, like fuck yeah, are you kidding me? So for 3 years, for at least 2 years, all we have to do is science. We don't have to worry about begging for money.
Yeah, nobody's fighting. It's just we have the money. We can stay here and just order the things we need to make this happen.
See, that makes more sense to me now because coming in as somebody who hasn't worked with researchers before, I always thought, okay, that's great, 3 years of money. But now that you guys have sort of explained it, it sort of adds value to that.
You gotta
scene.
understand, funding their dig means paying the people that are there with them, paying their graduate students, paying for the stuff to like the technology, the equipment, paying for their food, where they're living. Like
Their
that's
salaries,
That's everything.
And he had previously given him $50,000, which isn't a small amount of money, but that's not funding.
No,
dig.
no, that's not 3 years worth of dig.
That's one. That's like 2 graduate students at most. Back in
Gotcha.
I mean, graduate students don't make shit.
So that's why they
I've recently
celebrate.
had some conversations
graduate
with graduate students, like 4 graduate students.
Makes sense.
I like it though. I like the technology. I like that. I like that Dr. Grant talks about birds, how dinosaurs are like birds, and how this was early science. It's actually early research.
Yeah, this is kind of like the early 90s, late 80s is kind of the first where it first took hold that dinosaurs probably weren't giant lizards. They were probably closer to, or at least a hybrid of bird lizard.
Yeah, and Spielberg pulled in a paleontologist for some realism behind the ideas behind Dr. Grant, and that's where this came from in the movie. That's why it's in the movie, because he brought in somebody who sort of advised him to go this direction with the bird.
What we're going to do right now, because we probably have more than enough to fill up enough space before a break, is we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more Jurassic Park.
Dodson!
You shouldn't use my name.
Dodson! Dodson! We've got Dodson here! See, nobody cares. Nice hat. What are you trying to look like, a secret agent?
And we're back. All right, so we let's just fucking zip through. Everybody's seen Jurassic Park, right? You've seen Jurassic Park, Richard.
Honestly,
You've seen Jurassic Park, Brian.
one of the few movies I've probably seen 20 times.
Oh God, I've seen this movie.
yeah.
So, but anyway,
Yep.
we're gonna cut to the chase here. We're gonna go through some characters here. We get into a helicopter with all the characters that are now involved with the Jurassic Park. What's it? A tour investigation, just trying to get this thing figured out.
Yeah.
So that investors know that they can trust that this park's not going to eat people.
Right.
Which is what happened at the beginning of the movie.
Which
The
is
park
what
ate a
always
person.
fucking happens.
So I don't know what they were expecting. Moving into
First
this?
movie, though. First movie, so maybe they won't eat people. This is the only movie, Jurassic Park movie, where you can go, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
Ellie and Alan Grant are now in a helicopter with Malcolm and Hammond, and we're chopper. Oh, do we want to talk about Fat Guy and Dodson?
Oh yeah,
Dodson
for sure.
We have Dodson here.
Yeah,
See, no one cares.
That is another one.
That is a very important moment in this movie. We find some subversion, some espionage.
Yeah. And I love that scene because there he is out on like this Polynesian like paradise beach eating something or whatever. And when Dodson walks up and he says that line, Dodson, we have Dodson here, because Dodson's worried that, hey, don't say my name because I'm obviously the bad guy and I don't want anyone to know that we're doing bad things. That was another moment in my life I might have been in tears laughing because I thought that was hilarious that he's just such a douchebag that he's like, we have Dodson here. And it's like funny.
See, nobody cares.
Yeah, you're not a secret agent. Don't be so stupid, Dodson.
Why Dodson and Nedry are having this meeting is Dodson wants to give Nedry this fancy new can full of shaving cream. No. Fuck you, Brian.
I thought that's what it was.
No, you weren't watching the movie, were you? You had your chance. 25 years you've had a chance.
25 years.
25
You're not 11 anymore,
years.
Brian.
Don't yell at an 11-year-old. I'm still 11.
Fuck you, 11-year-old bitch. Anyway, Dodson and Nedry are meeting because Dodson wants Nedry to steal embryos for dinosaurs so that they can have this technology for his company, and essentially they want to create dinosaurs too. They want to build these embryos. They're stealing research so that they can be on the cutting edge and also have these dinosaur theme park.
And this is where you see the ultimate douchebag move by Newman, right?
That whipped cream.
Yes, he hands him the shaving cream, and
you can try it if you want.
He's very excited about how this is going to work. What are we going to put these embryos into? Well, it's a cooling mechanism in a shaving cream can.
48 hours.
And he fills his hand with the shaving cream. He's like, oh, and it even works. And he laughs, and he has this high-pitched giggle that's like... And I love it.
It's so raspy, and
I like how much excited he is about it. I would have been too, though.
And he's like just so excited. And he takes this
prop.
whipped cream glob that he or shaving cream glob that he has in his hand, and reaches over to the waiter table next to him, and he puts it on somebody's
a piece of pie,
on somebody's pie, and he leaves it there so somebody's going to eat shaving cream.
Son of a bitch.
Yes.
He puts it on there perfectly.
It does look great.
It looks like a commercial.
I wouldn't even be mad if I ate that pie. That looked great, but tasted a little off.
But
I would eat this again.
Fun fact from Jurassic Park: that shaving cream can was actually picked out by one of the prop guys. He just straight up went to like the drugstore.
Right?
Yeah,
damn right he did. I wrote that in my notes. I didn't even know that was true.
What?
I wrote in my notes that shaving cream can is from a head shop. It's a weed stash. It's a weed stash can.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
And and the prop guy just put a little like spring mechanism on it.
Nice.
Yeah.
And
glad you. Sorry.
The reason that caught his eye is because he liked the colors of the can.
It's a Barbasol can. What do you mean he likes the colors?
He liked the color. He's like,
that's
Barbasol,
the most generic damn
I like
can
the name,
of shaving
this
cream
and
there
that,
is.
And then
the one the head shop won't spray the actual shaving cream out, so they modified the.
I was really confused by that can. By the way, my dad used shaved gel, which didn't come out as foam. It came out as gel, and when you lathered it up, it would foam up.
That was a good scene, though. So that kind of tips things off, so you know, okay, this is going to be one of the main problems is that Newman, bad guy, meets Dodson, and he's going to try to steal some dinosaur embryos from the good guys.
Yeah, that's it. That's kind of the driving force for the bad stuff that happens.
Yeah,
that is the trigger.
Yeah.
So now we get to the park. We've got everybody choppering down.
We got Malcolm,
and it's a beautiful shot. We see Hawaii.
They introduced Malcolm in the helicopter, right?
He's a chaotician, which is the only thing I really say about Malcolm is that's a hilarious thing to say. I'm not a mathematician. I'm more like a chaotician. Chaos theory. I loved Jeff Goldblum's character as a kid.
Yes.
I fucking hated him this time through. I hated that pseudo-intellectual bullshit.
Because
the whole
Jeff
time.
Goldblum's character slept with every one of your girlfriends when you were in your 20s, Richard.
That's true. 100%.
Every one of them. All right, so we were introduced to him who he's flirting shamelessly with Ellie Sadler, Dr. Sadler, to him, but to nobody else. And they're flying in the helicopter.
It's gross, actually.
It's pretty nasty. It's abusive.
He does no science. He just flirts on her instead.
Yeah,
he's 100%.
He's the science.
I'm gonna put water on your head. This is the good stuff. Imperfections. Oh, microscopic.
And then
microscopic imperfections. God, you're beautiful. Can I bang you?
Hammond makes a comment, which is another one of my million famous lines from this movie. He says, "I bring the scientist, and you bring the rock star." And it's just a hilarious comment that he makes to the lawyer. That's why, because the way we feel about him, I was reading a review that Roger Ebert wrote back in 1993.
Oh, good idea.
Okay, and he was not a huge fan of the characters of this movie. He wasn't really a giant fan of the movie if you read through the whole thing.
Because he's a ding dong.
But one thing he says about the human characters in the movie, he literally says this line: "The human characters are a ragtag bunch of half-realized, sketched-in personalities who exist primarily to scream, utter dire warnings, and outwit the monsters." I completely disagree with that because of this conversation we're having about Jeff Goldblum's character. There was real work done by these actors and by Spielberg and everyone involved to make these people have personality and for you to care or hate them and to drag you in.
I do kind of like that Ebert hated the human characters, but I don't think he realized why he hated them. He hated them because those characters were real enough that they triggered something inside him that made him not like them, because they are all very well done.
I agree.
They just are all such strong personalities in what they're doing that it's hard to make them tangible as people. But I've had interactions with people just like every single one of them.
Yeah.
So we get to the island, everybody lands on the helicopter, and there are people, and so we go on a tour of the facilities, and we finally figure out how. Well, no, we see the dinosaur, then we see how.
Yeah,
so
everybody's really. I would be too.
We're on these fancy pants Jeep tour thing in Jurassic Park, and we are first, and probably Steven Spielberg's best scene ever is when they first see a Brachiosaurus, Brontosaurus, whatever it's supposed to be in 1993.
Yep.
And I mean, honestly, it's amazing. We see the reactions of the people looking at the dinosaur and how Hammond is just like giddy with trying to show them this fucking cool ass toy that he's got.
Actors, like theater actors for these roles, and you can see it in this. This is where you can see it. Everybody's legitimately looks excited. Everybody looks scared and excited in this movie when they need to be.
I agree. And it's funny because Jeff Goldblum tells the story about this scene, and he talks about how Spielberg was talking to him like, okay, now look amazed. Now start laughing with excitement for no reason, just because you're so amazed. And that's exactly what Goldblum does in the scene. And then Ellie's, whoever Ellie's real name is, tells a story about how all
Dern.
it was an X, a big paper X with a Sharpie X on it that they hung in the tree and said, you guys are looking at that. That's the dinosaur. So it's fun to watch that scene and watch their faces and the wonderment. And that's when you feel the full impact of John Williams.
So we see the dinosaur, which is a big deal. The
big
Richard
reveal.
had an important note here.
One of the first things Dr. Grant notices is that dinosaurs do move in herds. And I wrote, much like all of Greg's ex-girlfriends.
Oh, so let's talk about that. What does that mean?
It's a support group, and they call it the herd.
Okay. Most of my ex-girlfriends do move in herds, and they do eat like so they all have really long necks so that they can get to the leaves at the top of the trees. Not exclusively, but nearly exclusively dated literal giraffes.
Yeah, little giraffes. Because so they go to this ride, and that's where they get to meet Mr. DNA, who explains that dinosaurs are made from
Frog.
mosquito blood.
They found blood in a mosquito,
and they crossed it with a frog.
Yeah, with frogs. They filled the gaps with frog
Amphibian
information.
DNA.
I don't know how that would work, but you know what? Fuck it.
It was loose science, but it's actually. I remember as a kid, we were all like close enough. I'm glad somebody at least tried.
Yeah, they said DNA, and then they explained it away in a way that almost would have made sense to a layman. So let's go with it.
And Mr. DNA had an awesome Southern charm to him. Like
He did. He had that accent.
Yeah.
Dino DNA.
Dino
I
DNA.
can't even do it.
Bingo. Dino DNA.
Yeah, wow, that was really good. As 11-year-old Brian, I can't talk about this movie because it's a theme park without talking about Disney World. So they get on this ride, which is pretty much a reversed Carousel of Progress. Like it spins around the lab instead of, well, no, it actually is like Carousel of Progress because the show's in the middle and they're on the outside spinning around. Mm-hmm. And I love just the whole mechanism of them sitting and getting locked down made me think of like some old rides that used to be in Epcot Center. And I like connected with this part of the movie because I was like, oh, I would love that. I'd love to sit down and have the little video and everything. It kind of hurts my feelings when they get up and they break the machine to get out because I wanted to see the rest.
That's a common, I agree. I wanted to see the rest of that tour too. But that's a common theme throughout the movie is what perceived control versus actual control. Yeah. In that the perception was they had control over this scenario start to finish. In reality, that control was fake.
It was at best.
It was never.
They couldn't even close the fucking door properly.
It was never real.
Yeah,
Right, because even
at
Grant
the
broke
beginning
the
of the first scene in the movie, everything was we have a process. We're following the process. We are in control. Nope.
Yep.
Not with Dr. Grant. He has no respect for this for the technology. That
And
holds
every
him in place.
time they lose control, the chaotician Jeff Goldblum makes a comment like,
Told you so.
We couldn't predict that would have happened. So yeah, I
I'm
predicted
do my
it.
job. I'm here to do my job. Take my shirt off and talk shit.
So now we're gonna go on a beautiful tour of Jurassic Park.
We did find out dinosaurs can't breed because they're all females, and that's what Jeff Goldblum goes. That's bullshit.
And
That is bullshit. Life will find a way.
yeah, and that's, and I agree with you. That's when they were talking about this Velociraptor and everything. Two things I want to point out about the Velociraptor scene where the baby comes out. Even as a kid, that was the least convincing scene to me. I did not like the baby puppet coming out of the egg. I just didn't find it believable. It didn't look right to me. It was, in my opinion, one of the worst special effects, and people love that scene. So I disagree. And the other thing is that you guys need to notice, this is probably going to be the most important part of this show. I'm declaring that now. Velociraptor has every letter in the word helicopter except for the H. It's one of the few words that has that.
Nice.
That was rapid fire, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, and at the meal, this is where we find out that Hammond has some people that disagree with him, and he realizes that the lawyer is the only friend that he has on the team because everyone's worried about you're cloning
Now-
dinosaurs. What's going to happen?
The lawyer's like, oh shit, dinosaurs.
We're gonna
We
make
can
money.
Sell this.
I think everybody in the audience, at the very least, was aware that people were going to disagree with Hammond on this one.
Yeah,
Most people, the way they presented it, the way
Yeah.
Spielberg presented it, he puts everybody in the same place. I mean, Spielberg is masterfully accessible. Let's talk about our beer, Greg.
So this week is the
Shorts Brewing Company.
Shorts Brew, which is a local Michigan company. Again, I think we've had some shorts before on the podcast.
Pretty sweet, pretty interesting.
Yeah,
concoctions.
they've got some good beers. This one's, what's it called? Anniversary Brew
Yeah.
or Anniversary Ale. So we picked Anniversary Ale because this is the 25th anniversary of Jurassic Park this year. It was released originally September 23rd, I think, in 1993.
Yeah, it's crazy.
About 25 years ago, which is an adult ago. It's a drinker ago. You can now legally rent a car without too much concern. Your insurance rates are lower.
So is it a good brew then? How do you guys rate this thing?
You know what? My first sip of it, I was unhappy. I was really sad with my first drink of this. After I finished two of them,
It's a strong beer.
yeah, it's certainly it's got some oomph, which I'm good with. It was a bit too hoppy originally for my first sip. It stood out, and it may have been because I had some gum in my mouth just before we drank it.
Peppercorn too.
Yeah, it was a very bitter beer.
Let me read the description of this beer.
But after the first one, the second one was fantastic.
it's got a lot going on.
It's got a description on the bottle.
On
yeah.
the bottle.
I love that. I like reading the descriptions like on a Betty Crocker
This is
box.
too bad you're not allowed to read this because it's beer. That'll get you drunk.
Shorts
That's
Brew
against the law.
Shorts Brew Anniversary Ale. It's a blood orange wheat wine ale, which I don't know what the wheat wine is. I don't understand that. Ale with peppercorns, blood orange, and orange zest. I honestly like.
Whoa.
I'm a big fan of anything with a little bit of orange in it, as far as beer is concerned. But I'm with Greg. The first couple of drinks of this were a little weird. It's the peppercorn, Greg. The peppercorn has like a bit of a kick to it. It's a little, almost a little like tangy, a little spicy. But once you get used to that spice, once the spice like wears in on your tongue, it actually tastes pretty good. I would say drink it. I give it a drink it.
So I really don't know what a wine wheat ale is supposed to mean.
Fuck.
Shorts, if you're listening to the podcast, give us a call. Let us know. Anyway,
Mr. Short, I want to.
no, like I said, my first drink of it, I was unhappy with it. Not just like this is not that good. It was, to me, that first drink was bad. And once again, that may have been the gum that I had just chewed too. So I'm not going to judge too hard on that because as I went through the first bottle, it did get better and better.
Huh.
I did like it though. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Oh,
So drink it for Greg too.
Drink it for
nice.
the two of us.
That's a winning number.
Have a brewski for the dudeskies.
So, and as you guys know, what we talked about on our last episode that I was honored enough to be a guest on, I'm what we call a predictive alcoholic. I haven't drank and I don't plan on it because who knows? I'm not willing to take that risk. What if I could be an alcoholic?
He won't even swish a beer around his mouth and spit it out on my carpet.
What if I love it? Then I'm in trouble. My life is ruined. So on that note, and because I need attention and I'm hungry for it all the time, obviously from me on this podcast, I brought themed candy for the movie.
Oh, he brought Haribo dinosaurs and didn't tell us.
I brought Haribo dinosaurs for all of us. So here is our themed candy. I'm gonna try one now.
Are these gummies?
I've never had one. This is the same company that makes gummy bears. It's the most popular brand of gummy bear in the world.
I love gummies.
So we are on a tour. Oh, we're gonna get in the Jeeps. We're gonna meet the kids. Mm-hmm. There's the little girl and the little boy.
What's her name? Timmy's the boy.
Little Tim, the human piece of toast.
Oh, this is when we meet Tim.
Yeah, Tim and what's the girl's name though? Lexi. Yeah, Lex.
Ariana Richards.
They don't say her name very often in the movie.
No, they don't.
I write these things down as I catch them.
They do call her Lexa like twice, and I caught that because my daughter's name is Lexi.
She just spends the whole movie scared. Even the first scene, she looks terrified. This is where we get to see the iconic Jeeps in the movie.
Yeah, they're pretty neat looking.
The electric cars,
they
the auto drive. Yeah,
green, yellow biz on them. They
kind of early auto driving cars. That's kind of cool. They have CD-ROMs, which
pseudo
is super
autonomous.
fancy.
They have a track to follow. But
when they get in the car, they play off the idea that that our main protagonist male does not get along well with kids, and he makes the kids sit in the other car.
But Timmy's a total dinosaur nerd. He reads all these like novels by dinosaur researchers.
So he's
actual
like
scientists.
Dr. Grant's biggest fan.
Grant's.
Yeah.
No, he's not though. He's challenging Grant's theories.
Oh, that's true. Yes.
He's like, so you said they're like birds. Well, this guy doesn't say that. 11-year-old boy reading those kind of books.
Yeah.
And chasing Dr. Grant around. Dr. Grant's still being a dick to him.
And he's so annoyed. And he closes the door on his face while in the middle of a conversation.
He's annoyed
cuts him off.
He's annoyed at this kid who's obviously pretty brilliant. We gotta take this. So Newman's gonna take all the systems down to compile some code. He tells us over and over to everybody. Nobody cares because nobody knows what that even means in this movie. They're like, okay, whatever. He's like, yeah, I gotta turn down the systems. 2 million lines of code. It takes a long time. We don't have enough processors, but we have VR in.
Yeah, Nedry is very much like he's being very suspicious in his behaviors as well.
Didn't say the magic word.
I'm glad he took time to record that.
Yes.
Nedry's plan to go steal the embryos was to shut down the systems that were basically going to get him from his office.
For 15 minutes.
Will you shut up and let me fucking finish? I
can't.
noticed. My God. We're to shut down the systems that would get him from his office to the embryo refrigerated storage system and then out of the facility in about 15 minutes so that he could get on the boat, get off the island with the embryos and be good to go.
I assume
It's a good fucking plan.
Yeah, actually, I assume if they didn't want to fuck with the computer, it would have worked. Because I assumed the system was going to reboot itself after 15 minutes.
Right.
But Samuel L. Jackson goes and starts fucking with the computer to log into it at some point in the movie, a little bit later, and it locks him out. And it locks out the whole system. If they would just left it alone, it would have been fine.
It would have been. And that mixed in with something else we haven't mentioned, which is there's a tropical storm on the way, so a huge storm coming.
Had it not been for this storm, the plan would have gone off without a hitch. Nedry would be off the island with the embryos, and the tour would have continued as planned.
It was the storm mixed with the fact that the tour with the grandkids was at the same time, mixed with the fact that he chose to do this at the same time. So it was just bad timing all around. It was like the perfect storm for everything to go wrong, which actually, another fun Jurassic Park fact, during the beginning of filming of this movie, there was a big hurricane at the filming site. They were literally at the dead center of this, and it delayed it for a few days. But the whole cast was together, huddled up in their hotel with the hurricane.
Just so you know, The Perfect Storm is another movie that we may end up watching.
Oh God, no!
It's a 2000 movie directed by Wolf.
I will not be here
Peterson,
for that.
I think.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg's in it.
There is Dr. Samuel L. Jackson. I don't know his character's name.
He's not a doctor.
He's probably
Jackson.
not a doctor.
Yeah.
The character's name is almost certainly not Samuel L. Jackson.
They said it a few times, but he actually isn't in very much. But all of his moments on screen are great. He's just chain smoking and being bad at computers the whole time.
He was very good.
That's true.
So yeah, the system's shut down. They're trying to find a way to get it going up again, and he's gonna reset stuff, I guess.
Yeah, but meanwhile, we have Jeeps.
Oh my God!
Stopped working.
Where's the Jeep stopping in the rain and the dark?
But what in front of?
There's no way that something dangerous could be happening.
I mean, originally they were on their
way.
tour and Dr. Grant jumped out.
They stopped in front of some small dinosaurs, right?
Yeah, they didn't see anything for a while, which is I like that.
That's
part.
ideal.
I really like that part because it's kind of like what would happen. You'd be in that fucking park. You'd spend all this money to get there, and you wouldn't see a single dinosaur.
No dinosaurs show up.
If I had $1 for every time I went to the Detroit Zoo to see the polar bear and I didn't see it, I'd be a billionaire because it is totally true. You do not see the animals at the zoo. And
Every
you wouldn't at
time I
Jurassic
go to
Park.
Disney, I don't see any Mickeys.
Other than a giant mouse.
Well, that's true. You got to go in the thing.
Yeah, you got to get in line.
Yeah.
It's a pain in the ass.
It's like mini Santa Claus. Yeah, fuck that.
No, you're right though. They don't see. It's a very disappointing tour. So now,
Dr. Grant once again jumps out of the fucking Jeep.
yep.
They meet a 6 Stegosaurus, which has no subplot other than the fact that it's a way to separate Dr. Grant and Ellie.
And it really didn't matter. It just separated the characters.
So Ellie goes off with some of the zoologists or veterinarians or whatever you want to call them of the park to go figure out what's going on with 6 Stegosaurus.
Yeah.
Dr. Grant gets back in the Jeep with everybody else, the kids, the lawyer, and Malcolm.
That sick dinosaur is the first time that the actors see a puppet that is a dinosaur, and that sort of wonder that they have is actually sort of real because they're like, I can't believe how real this thing looks. This movie's gonna work.
That's
so
the same dinosaur that Steven Spielberg posed in front of, and then it caught all that controversy later on because he killed it. Fucking idiot.
Yes, I remember that.
I did.
People posted that like he hunted the last Triceratops or whatever. And
I didn't know it was Spielberg. And
just
everybody's
ridiculous.
Like, what the fuck?
People are dumb.
So then we had our people separated. The Malcolm, Dr. Grant, and the kids go back to the Jeeps and they to finish a tour while Ellie goes to take care of the Stegosaurus. And that's when shit goes bad because everything breaks. The Jeep stop moving. And
Nedry causes this shutdown.
It's raining.
And we get one of the best tension building scenes
ever. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. The Jeeps stop in front of the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
The porta potty. That too.
Everybody
that was
takes
accurate.
It wasn't a porta potty. It was a real potty.
It was a
a
bathroom.
full on toilet.
That was accurate. And you're right. It stops in front of the the T-Rex cage.
And when they first stop, you see the goat that they were chaining up for food for the T-Rex.
Yep.
Still hanging out.
And he's just chilling out. And then she looks out the window and she's like, where did the goat go?
Mm-hmm.
And
do you hear the footsteps at this point?
No, not just yet.
The glass of water is actually later.
Yeah, it's a
Malcolm scene, actually.
Yeah, that's the Malcolm scene.
In your brain, you always want to put it here. And this is probably where it should have been. Is the first T-Rex gonna kill you scene, but it's later. I was actually a little disappointed. When I watched this story, I was like, oh, this isn't where they put the guitar string under the glass and made it ripple, which is how they did the effect. It's actually the most difficult effect in the movie, but that comes on later.
Yeah.
So are the kids messing around with like the night vision goggles?
Yeah, they're horsing around with the night vision goggles and the flashlight.
Is it heavy?
Yeah, that's another one of my favorite lines. Is it heavy? Yes.
It's expensive.
Then it's expensive. Put it down.
That's great. Those glasses are actually awesome. One of my favorite props, and they were underused in this movie. The dinosaur comes, the T-Rex comes, and now we got some murder finally.
Yeah, so where's the goat? And then you just hear like the goat's leg or stomach or something whumps on top of the truck.
It's a leg.
And it's a good jump scare.
You see the leg.
It is. Is that a leg?
Yeah.
I feel like it was a
You see the bloody leg.
stomach.
It's a PG-13 movie, kids movie, and this bloody stumpy leg from this goat is just sliding
And that freaks
down.
the kids out naturally. But they don't realize that the power's out and that the fence is broken. And this is...
They think they're safe right now.
Yeah, they say more or less they're
T-Rex
safe.
is on the
They're
other
near
side of the electrical
T-Rex,
fence.
but
We're safe.
they're
We're fine.
That's when the lawyer does the right thing. It gets out of the car. It goes to the bigger building to hide.
Right.
And he goes and sits on the toilet. But he leaves the kids. And the kids are like, he just left us. It's like, yeah, it's kind of a dick move.
And then
adult.
Jeff Goldblum makes a comment to Dr. Grant, something about maybe the kids are afraid at some point, and you begin to like realize like, hey, this guy has some sort of care for the children or something, like he's aware of other people's, like, especially kids and their state of being,
And this is where we find out that T-Rexes can only
Their visual acuity is based on movement in this movie.
Yes, and Dr. Grant knew that.
In the book, it is not the case.
Oh, okay. And it says, that's when Jeff Goldblum jumps out of the car. And
Heroic.
Actually, Dr. Grant jumps out of the car. He does it the right way with the road flare, and he throws it. And the T-Rex is going to go get the road flare. Goldblum,
Ian Malcolm, the dumbass.
He's like, I want to be a hero too.
Yeah. hey,
Totally
hey,
true.
hey, and then just runs with the thing and
Yes.
gets trampled. And this is what gets the lawyer eaten.
The way it was originally written is that he was supposed to have the same behavior as the lawyer. He was supposed to also run off and like sort of disappear and be sort of cowardly. And Jeff Goldblum is actually very proud of contributing to the movie in this moment. He actually talks about this a few times, and he says, "Well, actually, I talked to Steven Spielberg, and I told him, I think my character should have a different reaction, and instead of just running off and hiding, I feel like my character would try to be heroic and distract the dinosaur, which is obviously going to be a huge mistake." And Steve really liked that, so he was very proud of adding that moment because that was not scripted at all.
That was a good moment. It felt better for his character, I think.
I agree.
He was still selfish. He was like, I want to be the hero too.
Yes.
And he gets out the dinosaur. I actually really like that scene. He runs with it and he throws.
Yeah.
And he throws a road flare. He goes, but he keeps running. It's like, what the?
Yeah.
And that's when Malcolm gets the lawyer killed, because then the dinosaur chasing Malcolm sees the lawyer, knocks over the building, sees the lawyer, and eats him. So, Greg, the next scene on this is where we get Newman trying to get out.
Yeah, Newman's trying to make his escape, which is unsuccessful. Is that something that stood out to you?
It really did, honestly. Every time I watch this movie, I kind of always root for Newman to get away.
Sure.
He's
so pathetic.
just so pathetic, and he's so bad at driving that Jeep because he's running into shit.
He just wants a couple bucks. That's all he wants.
He's bad with his money.
But the one thing about Jurassic Park is if somebody in this movie talked about how a dinosaur kills people, you get to see it.
Yeah.
And he gets killed by one of those Dilophosauruses or whatever that shoot venom.
Yep.
And that's when the container he's holding with the embryos, he drops it and it falls into a pit and gets covered in mud.
That's it.
And
thread.
Dr. Grant's back saving the kids. Timmy's in the car still.
Yeah, the car falls off the edge. And
Timmy's still in it.
T-Rex
Dude,
pushes
you know
it off.
what? I'd like to point out that from here on out, Timmy gets the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
Yes, which is so good about his character. He definitely gets beat up.
But he's optimistic the whole time.
He's a victim.
He stays cheerful.
Yep.
As much as he can.
So they get pushed off of the cliff into the tree, and then Timmy gets beat up on his way down. The car falls down. They try to climb down. The car almost falls on him.
Pretty much at this moment, Richard's going to throw a Haribo. We're going to try.
Oh, that was pretty good.
It was a cheek hit.
Hit me in the top tooth, which is in the mouth, really.
That was really good.
Yeah.
That's what the dentists call it, the top tooth. Your top tooth is looking good.
My
today.
top tooth. So this is the last time I give a shit about the kids and Alan Grant for the most part until the very end of the movie. Not that they did a bad job with their exploration of the park and getting around, but they had a whole fucking park full of dinosaurs that they were supposed to be exploring and walking around and trying to get to the main compound area. And all they did was some dumb shit in open fields and some electric fence. It was just, there was so much opportunity and it felt incredibly wasted with them.
Yeah.
They really don't matter until the end of the movie. I mean, you care about the characters, obviously, because you've been introduced to them, but so they're trying to get the park back up and running. And Samuel L. Jackson's idea is shut the shit down and reboot it. It'll
Just
take
restart
some time.
it.
We shut it down, turn it back on. That fixes stuff.
Turn
Believe
off, turn
me,
back on again.
if anybody in this room has lived that life, it's me. I understand that turning it off and back on again fixes it. It's my job. Turning stuff off and back on is my day to day.
So Ellie meets up with Malcolm, and she's looking for the kids. And while she's looking for the kids, Malcolm got a little fucked up fighting the dinosaur. His leg got fucked up, so he's hanging out in the back of one of the gas jeeps, waiting for Ellie to come back with the hunter guy, who's Muldoon,
yeah.
yeah. So she's waiting for he's waiting for them to come back, and while he's waiting, that's when his glass of water starts to ripple. And I read that this was the hardest practical effect to do in the movie. They couldn't, it was in the script. They wanted to do this with the ripply water. They didn't know how to do it. They took a guitar string and ran it underneath the dashboard, and they plucked a guitar string, and that's a sound wave. Right? And then the T-Rex shows up again, chases them. They get away in the Jeep. Of course.
This is a really important, iconic scene that I want to talk about, and they get away from the.
Well, the important iconic part is the
no,
rippling
that
water.
whole chase is like the object and mirror may
Yeah.
be closer than they
I
appear.
forgot about that. Yeah. Object and mirror may be
Must
closer
go
than
faster.
That's
Must go
good.
faster.
Yeah, and Jeff Goldblum, before they put him in the Jeep, was one of my favorite lines. Another one of my million is they say, "Hey, should we try to move him?" As if his back is broken because he hasn't spoken anything yet. He says, "Oh, please do try."
Yeah.
Because he sits
Please
up-
do try.
He's like, "Oh, please do try to move me." You know, it's like, yeah,
you're right,
of course.
Greg. Object and mirror closer to the seams, and they're driving away. And Jeff Goldblum falls. So Jeff
And we're told
Goldblum,
how fast a T-Rex can run in the open at the beginning of the
55
movie.
miles an hour,
And not be
35
moment.
miles
Hey,
an hour.
listen.
like a bear, same speed as a bear.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's really like that, honestly though that it is a pretty awesome scene. And it's a pretty awesome scene.
Yeah.
And after that, we pretty much have just
It turns into a fairly generic. I won't say generic because it was the first one to do this with dinosaurs. Just kind of a suspense movie,
You know,
for a little while.
Which
That's
is why it's so important that you like these characters, because a good suspense movie or horror movie or monster movie versus one that's not good is all based on, are these characters believable and likable?
Do I give a shit about these people getting eaten by dinosaurs?
Right. And I think by this point you're rooting for Timmy, you're rooting for Grant, you're rooting for Goldblum.
if we had a team of that lawyer, none of us would have cared, and the movie would have been over.
yeah, we got him out of the way fast.
Yeah.
as far as the kids and Dr. Grant's storyline go, there's a point where they have to climb an electric fence, and Timmy gets electrocuted because they managed to reset the breakers, and we'll talk about that storyline in a second. And Timmy gets blown off, and the whole time, like, Dr. Grant's really kind of flippant with the safety of these children. He, like, there's dinosaurs around. He's not trying to get them into safety. He's like, look at how amazing they are. It's like, no, man.
Yeah, if I had an 11-year-old climbing a 10,000 volt fence, I'd be screaming the whole time, "Move, move!" There would be nothing.
You definitely wouldn't leave him up there on his own.
There would be
I-
no taking your time
I would
or
also like to say I wouldn't test it with a non-conductive material like a dry stick,
stick. Yes,
Yeah.
That's a good point.
because that's not going to make any electricity show you.
Oh, and he
anything.
scares him by electrocuting himself. These kids have been through so fucking much already.
Yeah.
He does the fake, oh, I got electrocuted thing.
Kids
Well,
gotcha.
And then the girl screams and you hear dinosaurs coming for him. It's like, yeah, motherfucker. Like, what do you think was
Right.
going to happen?
With this fence, it's another scene where we ignore obvious things. Dr. Grant tries to squeeze through it. It's very obvious his huge shoulders aren't going to fit. And then he just says, okay, we got to climb. But Timmy would have easily fit through that
kids
thing.
both would have
Both of
easily
them.
fit
It-
through
like,
that.
Oh, yeah, good
as they're
point.
climbing it, if you look easily, they could have just slipped right through the bottom and Dr. Grant would be climbing this thing alone. So my theory is Dr. Grant hates children.
Yeah.
He thinks, I got to climb it. You got to
Okay.
climb it too. I'm going to beat you over and try to slow you down. He even says, like, be careful, be careful. I want Timmy to die. That's Dr. Grant.
What's
So
out at
now-
headquarters?
Samuel L. Jackson's idea of shutting everything off and turning it back on was great, except it somehow tripped a power breaker, the main breaker for everything somehow.
Yep.
And they needed to go turn everything back on.
Good news, the breaker's in a shed across the field half a mile away.
Which
You
you
don't-
didn't mention-
You don't need power relay stations anywhere near your main compound.
Why would you do that?
No, it doesn't make any sense.
He didn't mention this when he did this, but after the fact, he was like, oh, yeah, of course. I'm going to have to go. Yeah.
And he just pieces out with nobody.
No
I got
talk
this.
about it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go switch that. It's just a couple clicks up the mile there. We'll just go do the thing.
Yep, Steve Irwin is sitting there next to him, and he's got guns in the locker. And Samuel L. Jackson's like, "Peace, I'm gonna go hit the breaker. Be back tomorrow."
I'm good. Nothing bad could possibly happen to me.
Nothing's bad to anybody today.
And this is after people are dying.
Yeah.
And the dinosaur has eaten somebody.
But hey, at least the storm is over.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
he runs and leaves. And when nobody hears back, we decide that maybe a couple other people should go and try and get this shit taken care of.
Well, we get another hold on to your butts, though, before he leaves.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what?
good.
Fuck his butts.
Hold on to
Hold on to
your
your
butts. This
butts.
is the dramatic hold on to your butts.
Yeah.
Right?
This is when he's shutting everything off.
One hold on to your butts was none enough.
Hold on to your butts.
That was my Samuel L. Jackson impersonation. Thank you very much. So he goes, he dies, he disappears. Then the doc and Steve Irwin decide to go over there.
It's been
and-
10 minutes, so we
yeah,
should
they
go.
were gone. He was gone for minutes. So
Yep, and
clearly
this-
something needs to be done.
In this room is where Smokey Jeff Goldblum is too, right? Like he's hurt and he's on his side.
His shirt unbuttoned.
And his shirt's unbuttoned, and it's funny because he's supposed to be in a lot of pain. And they almost do it like comically. He's sitting there like Fabio.
It's like
He looks
5
like
seconds.
the cover of a romance
There was
novel.
5 seconds of no dialogue, just a little bit of music, and a slow zoom in on Jeff Goldblum, like shirt open, glistening, and just sitting there looking like Fabio.
It's so funny. It's just there because.
So the
So Ellie and Muldoon decide to go.
they're gonna go take care of business. They're gonna reset this brick breaker.
finally some guns, right?
And we
Muldoon
get the
brings a
guns
gun.
out.
Although Muldoon does bring a gun with him, he stares down a velociraptor and doesn't shoot it.
Another action movie or disaster movie, like sort of cliche. Ellie goes off, the heroic woman goes off after Samuel L. Jackson, and no joke, Hammond takes out of a drawer that happens to be right there the blueprints, and blueprints can solve all. I suddenly have the blueprints that you need to get anywhere in this park right at my fingertips. Oh, here's some radios. Yeah.
So I will say he seemed very heavily involved with the entire process. And he was rich enough that he was probably a big enough dick that he was like, no, these blueprints aren't quite. And he's familiar with blueprints.
Well, pedantic man.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, he's done enough real estate work in his history that.
Well, they walk her through the blueprints, and it leads to her finding the breaker. Yep. And this is this is combined with the scene we mentioned earlier about the kid getting shocked and little Timmy getting blown off the fence.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the best jump scares in cinema history. You can disagree with me if you want, but when that raptor busts through and you begin to realize the raptors are there and she's in trouble, it's just awesome. Like,
I thought it was super cheesy. Even the first time I watched it, I thought it was cheesy looking. I did not like the raptor head puppets. I didn't. That's all. I'm fine.
Well,
I'm fine with that. I understand. I'm gonna be disagreed with on this one.
I just like that Ellie ran to go prime and then reset the breaker. It didn't tell anybody on the radio that Muldoon was back there dealing with raptors by himself.
Yeah, that's true.
She didn't say a fucking word about the guy who was going to die.
Yeah. Yeah, she got to the room and she didn't say, "Hey guys, by the way, raptors are alive." She told nobody when she got there.
No, nobody.
Raptors are escaped.
No,
and
yeah,
alive.
didn't say, and it didn't say a word to anybody. Like, raptors are out, don't go outside. She just assumes it. And one thing I have to mention about the scene, and I don't know if other people feel this way, but remember when she primes the switch and she like pushes it?
Yeah,
it's the most satisfying thing. I've never wanted to push a button or pull a lever more.
That switch looks great,
I just want to I want to prime that thing.
Primer too. Like, yeah,
it looks like so. I want to charge that.
None of my breakers have ever been that cool. But
it just looks so tactile.
Yeah,
Muller dies right about here.
Muldoon,
he dies when Clever Girl sneaks up on him.
Yep, the velociraptors get him.
This part drives me fucking bananas because he sees a raptor in front of him. He knows these dinosaurs are dangerous and they're hunting him. He doesn't just shoot it.
Right.
He goes.
He slowly undoes his handle.
Did he add duds to the bump stock or whatever that fuck that thing is?
Yeah.
And just shoot the fucking dinosaur that's 4 feet from you, and then this other one sneaks up on him. He turns, looks at her.
He does shoot the gun. He discharges it there.
Does he?
Yeah.
He goes, "Clever girl."
He says something.
He takes the time to say, "Clever girl." Doesn't move a fucking muscle.
Yep.
Clever girl then moves a muscle. Fuck you, man.
If it were real life, he probably would have shot. But it's a movie, so the clever girl helped.
Eat you.
Yeah.
It seems like it's an off-screen death technically, but it does seem like the most brutal death, like this thing ripping him apart. Someone else dies from a velociraptor,
He
a T-Rex.
screams a lot.
Yeah, but it's going down, and the velociraptors is what I'm going to call them now. The velociraptor just tears this guy apart, and you could tell it's like you do not want to be around for this. So it'd be nice if somebody would radio back and tell Hammond and the rest of the crew that velociraptors are out, but whatever.
No.
No. Nobody knows the velociraptors are out.
Right.
But she does get the power back on the system.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids get back to the park. Headquarters about the same time. Yeah.
Yep. And now they're boarding themselves up, trying to keep the raptors out while they wait for the helicopter to come pick them up.
They're not all technically united.
Yeah.
They left the kids in the dining room where all the food was out because it was going bad anyways.
Yeah.
So they're eating all the desserts. They
deserve it. They earned it.
So they discover though that they're not alone inside. They're inside of the main lobby or main building for Jurassic Park.
So I liked the Jello on the spoon.
The shaking Jello.
Yeah. She's
so terrified that she's eating lime Jello. She has a Jello
The girl
cube.
looks scared so well.
Yeah,
she does
really
such a
does.
good job of looking terrified. The raptors chase the kids in the kitchen. I like how she distracts the one in the reflection and it smashes its head.
Bonks its head.
They look
Everyone
great.
in the theater was fooled by that. When I saw it, everyone expected this girl to get eaten right there, and the raptor hits the counter instead.
Yeah. Now, this is where, first of all, the movie kind of falls apart after the T-Rex. I'll say the second T-Rex chase scene, really. But once Alan and the kids are free in the park, the movie just turns to... So,
disagree.
It's not very believable, right?
We are dealing with dinosaurs here. I don't care about
believable. It's just boring. Do you have all of these opportunities and you're wasting every last one of them.
It's amazing.
And now we've got them all. The Velociraptors are chasing everybody.
Because the kids escape and they meet up with adults.
And they go into the
Right.
control room, right?
They board themselves into the control room.
Where
and,
Dr. Grant has a
Newman's
shotgun.
computer was, right?
and so they're going to try and all meet up and then get to the helicopter. And they're being chased by
Once again, the chopper's the
Velociraptor.
safety.
They get chased up into the roof tiles and they have to get out.
And
Also,
gone.
this is one of the bigger bummers of the movie is that rather than the humans managing to solve their problem and getting out of there, an incredible coincidence happens and the T-Rex comes and saves
Spielberg made that decision.
Yeah,
the day.
he did.
Lame.
Lame.
The bones were supposed to fall on the raptor and kill the raptor, but instead the dinosaur comes in, and there's a famous one of the guys tells the story that filmed the movie that was talking to Spielberg when he came up with this idea during the filming. He says, well, how did the T-Rex get in? And Spielberg translated that as, how did he get into your movie in this scene instead of how did he get into the building?
Yeah, how
and
did
he
he get in the
says,
fucking building?
and Spielberg literally tells him, he says, well, through the top frame, the camera will pan up and it'll show his head. And that's literally what it does. It's just, he's suddenly in the building and he saves everybody. So he's the hero.
The Velociraptors are dead. We can stop talking about how they kill people or whatever.
Yeah,
it
whatever.
is.
They get
Yeah.
off the island,
They're so
fucking
smart.
done. The movie's
Yeah.
over. That's how they end it. All right, so we're gonna take a quick break, and we will come back with our final thoughts.
Our final thoughts.
Our final thoughts, not
Your-
our. Hello, kids. I'm here today with everyone at the What a Disaster podcast to address a very important topic. Despite the misinformation campaign being championed by legendary director Steven Spielberg, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, also known as the T-Rex, can in fact see you, even if you aren't moving.
The truth is that the T-Rex can not only see you, but it can smell you, it can hear you, and it will get you.
If you ever want to know what jaws that can exert over 13,000 pounds of pressure can do to the crunchy bits of a human body, then by all means, just sit there like an asshole.
But we are here to tell you, don't be like the lawyer in Jurassic Park. He was an asshole, and he just sat there.
Do not be like the lawyer in Jurassic Park.
Please do not be like the lawyer from Jurassic Park.
Ahoy, mateys! We back for our final thoughts. Yarg! So we're back from the break there, which you guys just listened to was the break. And now Richard's going to tell us what he thought about 1993's Steven Spielberg directed action adventure movie Jurassic Park, rated PG-13.
Yeah, Greg, I think you kind of ruined it for me a little bit because when we came in, we talked about it. You were like, I really liked the first half. Not a big fan of the last third of the movie, at the very least. I agree. But I still love this movie. The sound is on point. The characters are interesting, and it kind of set the pattern for the big blockbuster movies that came out after it. It had its issues, but a lot of those issues didn't exist back in 1993 that exist now. We talked a lot about this movie. I don't think I have to rehash all my feelings on it. I'll give it an 8.3 on the Richter scale.
8.3 on the Richter scale. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's
it's pretty good film, man.
B. Ryan,
So
what you thinking?
I think I've made my opinion pretty clear on this movie.
This is like a 12 out of 20.
A lot of times
12 out of
when
10.
a lot of times
Perfect
when
5 out of 7.
a lot of times when you like
Perfect
think
8 out of
about
6.
movies in your scale, right? You think, okay, can this be a 0? No, it can't be a 0 because this other movie's so bad. That's my 0, and all other movies are sort of rated off that.
Your scale, you can't be the scale's not relative. It's
No, I hear
subjective.
ya.
It's you get to decide the
changes
scale.
as
I
you
know,
change.
I know, but like in my mind, almost all movies are compared to whether or not they're as good as what Jurassic Park was when it came out. So any new movie I see has to compete with this. This is my 10 out of 10. This is definitely one of my most favorite movies ever in existence. Even the flaws in it, I find magical. And again, it's nostalgia. It controls it. That's why I think it's 10 out of 10 because I'm still 11 and I have no apologies for that. It's just, it's a well done movie, amazing characters, good writing, funny action, and freaking dinosaurs that look real. It's got all the things that some of the other Jurassic Parks don't, and all the things that every movie that came before it didn't.
You and Chris
All right.
Slatt.
So what's your final score there?
10 out of 10.
10.0
out of
on the
10.0.
Bryanter scale.
Yep.
That's pretty intense.
No
You and Chris
apologies.
Pratt, man. Chris came and did Titanic, one of
Chris
his favorite
Pratt?
movies of all time.
We did not have Chris Pratt on this
Oh,
show.
Chris,
not ever.
What's Chris' last name?
Slatt. It's like
which is-
Pratt, but with an SL.
Yeah, it's actually I wasn't too
pretty
far.
close.
And
Yeah.
I have a soft spot for Spielberg
I
in a
tried
lot
to
of
get
movies.
Chris to come tonight, but he could.
Oh, that would have been
couldn't
fun.
make it.
Yeah, because like he loves Titanic as much as you love Jurassic Park. I didn't realize it. Like those are your guys' two favorite movies.
Yeah.
And Cameron and Spielberg. Like, Chris's feelings on Spielberg are pretty hilarious. It would have been. We'll have to get you guys both in for a Spielberg movie. Like that'll be good.
And some Spielberg, I'm not all of his movies are my favorite, but this, The Terminal, is another 10 out of 10 for me. Love
Terminal's
it.
great. Oh my god,
Amazing. Just the lighting, the direction of the movie, just amazing.
and not for kids, right?
So-
like more of an adult movie.
Yeah. But this movie though is just definitely it's the best.
So Monster House is my favorite Spielberg movie.
That's not Spielberg, is it?
Mm-hmm.
You lie.
Pretty sure.
I love that movie.
I never seen Monster House.
That makes a lot of sense now.
I'm gonna
Second
double
Monster
check
movie?
in case I'm crazy,
Big
but I'm
movie?
pretty sure Monster House is a Spielberg movie.
When I saw Monster House, after watching it, I was like, I can't believe I like that movie as much as I did.
I never seen Monster House.
It's not a Pixar film, so you can't go in thinking it is, but it's one of the few that I walk away from and go, that's as good as a Disney or Pixar film.
Maybe he just produced it.
I'll have to watch that. Yeah.
Phenomenal
I like,
movie.
I like shit like that. I'll watch that.
You got to see it's a little more obscure when compared to some of the
It was
others.
directed by Gil Keenan.
So good.
Oh man, we did
Oh, Gil?
Yeah, old Gil Keenan, they say.
I won't tell you guys what time it is.
It's 11:51. Steven Spielberg was an executive producer on it.
Great
but I
movie.
still liked it. Anyway, so yeah, Jurassic Park, it had a lot of potential. The first half-ish of the movie really lived up to it. I get irked so much by movies that allow coincidence to save the day. It drives me nuts. Like, just give the protagonists the opportunity to solve their problems.
An edge.
The underdogs winning is important. The underdogs having that victory snatched by a dinosaur is neat, but it's not fulfilling for me in a story sense. The movie's not perfect. It's very, very good. I enjoyed it, and for what it was technologically at the time and the way the story was told were both pretty fun. So I'm going to still give it a high rating, but not. I don't think it's going to be as high as Richard and Brian's here, because I'm going to give it a 7.5 on the Gregtor scale.
Oh, you
Greg usually writes a little
you just
lower.
slapped Kathleen Kennedy right in the face, and it breaks my heart.
I don't know who Kathleen Kennedy is.
She's slapped.
She's the one
That's
that
who
took
she
over
is.
the whole Star Wars project from Lucas when Disney got it. So
Oh, well, I don't really care about
still,
Star Wars
I'm
either.
heartbroken.
I've got Star Wars stuff, but
The War of the Stars.
yep. All right, so that's a wrap on another episode of What a Disaster. Thanks for following along with us. We hope you enjoyed yourselves. Obviously, we'll be back next week. In the meantime, you can obviously check out the show notes. Follow WAD, What a Disaster Podcast. We've got PodWad on Twitter. Facebook, we're What a Disaster. And on Instagram, we are WAD Podcast. Once again, you can always give us a call. You can text message us to 209-781-9113. We'd like to hear what you think. Let us know. We'll see you next week. Or hear us next. You'll hear us next week.
you'll hear-
We don't know anything about you.
We'll hear what you want to hear.
You email
Yeah.
us. We'll know. Just call us.
I'll read you if you email it. I won't hear you though.
So what's our email address? wadpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
You can email us too. Just get in touch. We love you guys. You're great. Both of you that listen, you're our guys.
You're
Or girls. I don't know. I don't know anything about you.
If you're girls, you can still be our guys. So
Yeah, you girls can be our guys.
Yeah.
You guys can be our girls. That's fine with us. Whatever you want to be. You do you. So, for What a Disaster, this is Greg
this is Rick.
This is Brian.
saying Michelle.
Michelle.
Bye. Have some fucking knowledge.
What do you guys like? What Final Fantasy do you guys like?
Which Final Fantasy do you
Do you
guys
actually
like?
Do you actually like those games? Like,
Oh my God.
like I did.
I'm
I did as
raging
a kid.
in my soul right now.
Let's be
There's a
honest.
fire.
Let's be honest.
in my
Final Fantasy for a
gut.
second.